Coming in? Okay, well, again, thank you guys for coming to this Honolulu workshop. This one's special because one of my students recently reached out giving a really great idea. And actually, it was Mai Vang. So, if you're on here, thank you so much for bringing this idea out. She wanted to get an insight what it's like to um, know what it's like to get your first job, and I mean, what's a better story to tell than an actual person that really went through this market, especially as you guys know, this market's not easy. It's definitely probably the hardest market in a decade to find a job, especially in tech for entry level developers, right? And so I wanted to give you guys a story. I'll be kind of like the moderator of kind of like asking the questions of like how Hyun here, so Hyun Sung Cho is going to be our um, guest speaker today. And he'll be kind of telling his story of how he got to where he's at. And just kind of brief intro about me. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Tony Kim. I'm a software developer at Southwest Airlines, and I also run this company called Honolulu, which focuses on one-on-one technical mentorship for mostly focused on bootcamp grads that just graduate from bootcamp and trying to really find ways to accelerate their learning paths. We do that with the technical mentorship through technical interviews, technical prep, and what in a one-on-one setting. And so I'll share more of that information at the end of the call. But what this interview will entail, or what this meeting will entail, is I'll be asking him some questions about how he got to where he's at, and then we'll go from there. And then we'll leave some time at the very end for you guys to kind of open up and then ask any questions that you may have, okay? But in the meantime, keep your mics muted so that way we can give our full attention to Hyun here, okay? So Hyun, you got a pretty big crowd here. There's a lot of people wanting to know about you. So yeah, so first off, Hyun, thanks for coming out. I appreciate that. Let's start with the basics. So tell us about your story, your background, what you did before going to the boot camp, where you're based out of.
Okay. First of all, thank you for inviting me, Tony. For this great opportunity to share my experience. So, people who don't know me, my name is Hyun. I'm a software engineer at the company called Sojo Spa Club. So prior to jumping into this field, I had a background in law and hospitality industry, so managing company properties and assets, overseeing labor relations, leading special projects such as renovations and IT infrastructure integration. So in 2021, basically when the COVID hit, I thought that this is my last chance to start my own business. So I started in a e-commerce business in 2021, and then I started my managing my company's online store, and that's when I became really interested in coding and web development at the time, and you know I'm sure you guys guess, the business didn't work well. So that's when I decided to join the Flatiron Bootcamp to pursue my career in the tech industry, because at the time I thought that it's a good field to join. So I joined the bootcamp so 2000 April 2022. So I now graduated from Flatiron School 2022 July. So that's when I graduated from a boot camp, and I had over 6 month, close to 8 month of job searching, job hunting, and I got to know Tony. So through Hana Willow, his company, I finally landed my first job. I have a lot of things to talk about regarding job searching, but that's pretty much my introduction.
Yeah, thank you, Juan. Thank you, Hyun. So tell me more about, yeah, so what did you do after the boot camp? You said you had a 6 month period for finding a job. So tell me more about your job search journey, some of the challenges and some of the struggles and things that you did during the boot camp.
Okay. So I basically followed, every instruction, every guidance that usually bootcamp gives out. So, I set up my portfolio, I set up my project, I set up my LinkedIn, I updated my resume, um, you know, you know, and then I started prepping technical interviews, which was studying algorithm and data structure. Because when I was at Flatiron School, they didn't really cover that much of um, algorithm and data structure. So I started studying, but I had a really hard time. I think a lot of people would kind of they're on the same boat. I guess I started just applying jobs, and at that time, right after I graduated from boot camp, I thought that I wasn't ready to apply. So I kind of had a 2 month of kind of prepping by myself, just going to the library, just you know, trying to just study by myself. But that didn't really work out. It was really hard for me to focus on, this and that, because you really have to focus on like multiple things. You have to have a good resume. You have to keep constantly searching new opportunities. You have to stay up with all these opportunities because it keeps changing. So mine was I struggled a lot. Like, to be honest, I had a I had a little hope at that time. Um, but I kept going with it, even though I didn't see the result right away. But I was just like I started applying after 2 months. So it was like about October and September. I started applying, like 30 jobs or 20 jobs a day. So, but it was still hard. So until I had a I had a good friend of mine from boot camp. He actually got to know Tony and his Hana service, his business. So he kind of recommended me to, because I was at that time I was struggling. I was just, you know, telling myself, I'm going to do this and that. I'm gonna study this algorithm and data structure you know, by like end of this month or something. But that didn't really work out well. I had no guidance except for me, so I kind of needed that. So I reached out to Tony, and from that point, I had a lot of help from him, working like working stuff that I had to work on actually to be focused on getting a job. This is very hard. It's a long journey. I almost gave up like 1,000 times searching for a new job.
Yeah, what was you were telling me about the number of applications. What was the exact number of cold applications you sent out?
Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of funny because at that time thinking that what can I what can I do with like what can I do something that other people wouldn't do. So like I started applying a lot. So I applied about 1,600 applicants to like multiple companies, ranging from you name it, like those big companies to like
Yeah.
smaller companies, whatever it was out there, I just applied.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And Amy, did you have a question? You had your hand raised up, or were you just mistaken for that? Okay, I don't. Yeah,
Mhm.
if you did have a question, let us know. Um, yeah, so you had a lot of applications sent out. In terms of interviews, like how many like technical interviews did you go through, Hyun? Like how many would you say?
Unfortunately, I didn't have that much of technical interviews, but I have few, and like in person, I had a few. but most of them, the big companies, they throw out those internet, online,
Mm.
technical assessment stuff. So that was the hardest part because I feel like I'll do well when I'm with a person or people,
Yep.
like when interviewing stuff. So that was the hardest part
Yeah.
because they just throw out random algorithm questions.
Yeah. And what was
Yeah.
like your preparation? Like how many like while you were doing a job search and while you were trying to prepare for interviews, how many hours would you say you would dedicate to doing that like every day? Like what was like your schedule like?
Studying wise, I could have done better, but I couldn't do that much of studying, I would say, because I don't know, those just pressures, I guess it was just getting me stressed out all the
Yeah.
time. So, but I put most of my time I started, most of my time I spent was just applying and trying to find an opportunity. And, but when I started, you know, when I started talking to you, that was the time I really started, studying algorithms and data structure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
but like majority of my time I spent a lot of time, prepping and applying because applying definitely takes time too. Like
Yeah.
uh, it's not like you could just apply 10 application and some people get lucky and they get hit and then they get a job, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about how you got to this job at Sojo. So like, how did you make it happen? Like, what did you do for your preparation, and what was the experience like?
So yeah, this is kind of it was like so basically I started talking to you and started studying last December, and then you set out all the plans, so we're going to do this and that, and then I set out my plan too. We discussed a lot of things. So we set out, we'll do this data structure and algorithm by end of the February. And and to myself, I had a deadline because I felt like I was running out of time. So like I set up my goal was if I don't land a job by at the end of the March, then I'll just go back to my old job or another job in other industry so that later on I could just come back. So that was my plan initially, and then we went through all the sessions. Um, you helped me with a lot of JavaScript fundamentals. Try to just focus on one language rather than doing other bunch of other languages. Stay focused on like one path, and then but at the same time, I was just still applying a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunities, and then this Sojo Spa Club, they hit me up. So I had a phone interview, and then I went on a in-person interview, technical interview with the lead developer, and they were using TypeScript, so TypeScript and React. So I asked Tony, like what should I do, and then I did some. He recommended some like TypeScript crash course, and then React. He helped me with React technical interviews. So I prepared, and then I went on. The interview it went well. It went very well. It was not like algorithm data structure type interviews. It was more like just solving the solution, like solving problems with real solutions. So
Awesome. Awesome. And how did you feel after you got your offer? After all the all the challenges and the struggles that you went through, like how did that feel after getting that first
I
offer?
mean, I felt great, like legit. I appreciated all the hard works and all the help from, other people too, because I couldn't really, I was like this close to giving up, like legit. This was my last chance. That was the last interview that I went on, um, and then it just happened, I guess. So like I really appreciate all these opportunities, and I know it's very tough to find a job, especially this economy and this and then this industry itself too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't want people to think that it's impossible, or I don't want people to lose their hopes because this reason. I don't want to lose. I don't want many reasons to intervene with. Like I don't want any type of reasons to stop people from just pursuing their goals. So
Yeah.
that's my because I really struggle a lot.
Yeah. What do you think
Yeah.
was one or what's one of the things you felt like you you said that you were at points of like sometimes giving up and you had some
Hmm.
doubts. What was the last like what was that one thing that just one moment or something that made you kind of ignite that fire again like hey like I got to get back on on the rocket ship like to get this like what motivated you to get that fire back? What was that?
Um, I mean, there was I had a lot of motivations from you, because and then other people from like cohorts, like my friends and our friends from cohort. We just try to, um, I just reach out to them, and then how's your job search going? I know that they struggle too, so we sometimes just meet up, we just talk it out, and then especially when you because sometimes when you prep for job searching and you get rejections all the time, like your self-esteem, and you start just doubting yourself. Oh, am I not good enough? But um, in order I think in order for someone to overcome that was like is to just stay focused on their goals. Our goal is, I feel like everybody in here, our goal is to uh, get our foot in the door, land our first job in tech.
Mm-hmm.
So just think about that goal, and all these rejections, it's gonna only lead you um, to your first job, or next job. So
Yeah.
just try to keep that in mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, really well said. And now that you're in your job for a couple months now, like what's your tech stack that you're working on now? And what do you kind of been, just a very general idea, like what do you do in terms of,
So our company is it's well known spa. It's a spa, but I'm in a development team. Basically, development. We're developing a software systems and IT infrastructure for the company. We use React and Next.js, um, and Nest.js for backend. And I could go into details, but basically we're developing their reservation and software systems.
yeah, awesome. So these are like all new technologies, like something that you might have not even learned from Flatiron School.
Hmm.
What was that like learning something new at a company? And also, what has been like the first couple months been like? Has it been challenging, rewarding, a mix of both? What has that experience been like for you so far?
At first, it was still challenging because I had no idea what it's like to work as a software engineer in work field at that time, because it was my first job. Every company has a different type of environment, I would say. and different type of their work, I guess work requirements and their styles. So, you know, it was just hard for me to learn all these how like all these systems are set up, especially because our company is not too big. But it was a learning curve. You know, I just uh, try to search online. You know, watch Google like watch tutorials online, learn you know one at a time, and I'm still but they're using like TypeScript and it's basically based on JavaScript. So I was pretty comfortable with how JavaScript works, you know, because of the fundamentals. I went over and over and over. So it was hard, but it's I like it. I like it. It's somewhat rewarding too.
Good, good, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like we have some questions now, so let's definitely get some questions answered here. Diana, do you want to so Diana asked, how did the employer reach out to you? Oh, how did the employer reach out? Oh yeah, Diana, do you want to kind of speak
How
about
did the
that?
employer reach out?
Yeah, I have two separate questions, and then that was a short chat one.
Okay.
How did the employee reach out? I think you said they reached out to you.
No, I applied. I applied. If if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I applied. I applied for the companies, you know, a lot of companies, and then the company that I work for, they reach out to me because I submitted my resume.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
congratulations on landing the job. But the main question I had was, uh, now that you've been through all this pain and like you have the reward, what do you wish you could tell yourself at the beginning, right? To not lose this, but like everything you've told us so far is great, but what do you wish you could have known sooner?
I could have known sooner. I wish I could have start studying or getting kind of used to solving data structure and algorithm. I don't want to put that too much. Like I don't want people to put too much effort into it. But at least if I were to start all over again, I would just have some sort of trying to get familiar with it, you know, because it takes some time. I would say it takes a lot of time. So
Great,
that's
thank
my
you.
yeah, that's my recommendation if I start all over again.
Yeah, that's definitely that definitely is a great answer and a great question there by Diana. Yeah, if you guys are just coming out of a boot camp, what my recommendation is to try to get into DSA as soon as possible. Most people think that they have this assumption that they might just look at your projects, which some companies might, but most of the time it's focused on your data structures and algorithms. Unfortunately, that's a gatekeeper for a lot of jobs, and you have to know the fundamentals, and it always starts there. And then from there, you need to really work on your data structure and algorithms because that's key to like really time that offer. Because if you lack in that area, it's really hard to persist through the job search, especially the technical interview. So try to get that like ASAP. Try to put as much devotion and time into it because that's ultimately what's going to land you the job. Carly, did you have a question there?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of know what was your onboarding process like? How did that feel, and what did that kind of look like from what you remember when you initially started?
Oh, so my onboarding process, meaning after I got the job, or?
Yeah, after you got the job, and they basically did they provide training to you, and what that was like, and what sort of training they provided to you, and
so our team consisted. Okay, I'm gonna answer. Did I cut you off or?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, so our team consists of like 3 developers. So it's very small team. We have a one project manager type, and like, designer and marketing teams. And so basically the lead developer, he's very well experienced, and he set up all these our system. So basically, while like about a month or a month and a half, he basically, like one on one, he taught us, how systems are set up. He gives out some sort of materials that I could just study at home. So like I was just study and then go back, and then he gives me like, he assigns me with like little bugs or glitch, um, and then I would try to solve it. And it took me like some simple ones. It took me 2 or 3 days, or some other things it took me like a week. So but later on, I gradually kind of got used to it. So the time, it's much quicker. But there was like, kind of onboarding process. So that so that I was able to kind of get used to the system that they have, and then the stacks that they use.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I think Paul had his hand up first, and then we'll go to Christina.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Hyun, congratulations on landing your role
Thank
at
you.
Sojo. It's I've been to Sojo. Sojo's great. So
Oh.
I mean, are you working remotely right now, or are you in office?
I'm in office.
Okay, so you're in the tri-state area. My question was actually Carly kind of asked the question partially, but I wanted to ask, did they help you like learn your new tech stack, like Next.js and the backend that you talked about? Because clearly we didn't learn that in Flatiron.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm assuming from what you just said, answering our question, the lead, the developer there at Sojo probably just, they like, correct me if I'm wrong, but he basically just gave you like a month and a half, and like periodically give you things to study and work on and things like that. So that's pretty much how you kind of like learned slowly like all your new tech stack that you're currently using right now.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so like, would you say like, because I think like, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I can only speak for myself. But like, after graduating Flatiron, I was kind of in the same boat that you are currently in. Like, I'm about 6-8 months past graduation, and I've had like literally 2 interviews, and I got through a second round interview with BNY Mellon, which is a financial institution, but like I bombed the second part of the technical interview. So I totally get where you're coming from with like emphasizing importance of DSA to that degree, but it seems maybe for your interview, you kind of lucked out without like having to worry so much about DSA. It was more just about like problem solving. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was my case too. But
yeah,
that was my case. Maybe I got lucky, but I was still preparing for algorithm and data structure at the time. But I didn't, because prior to that, I was so stressed about it. I was so stressed about like I need to do this algorithm and data structure. So I think that was putting a lot of pressure on me too. But once I'm like, I'll just do my best, work on this simple algorithms, maybe an hour or 30 minutes, even 30 minutes a day, and then I would just try to build my new project, trying to do something fun, trying to, because like I like making stuff rather than, I'm sure a lot of people kind of are that way too. I love making stuff. So if that's something that you're happy with or you are good at, then I would say just work on it, and then but you gotta still apply. You gotta still apply, still try, and then I would say, it's gonna work.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one more thing before I let you go. Sorry if I'm taking up so much time, Tony and Ken. But so like how many rounds quote unquote did you go through with Sojo, or was it just that like one time in person and then like a HR and was that it?
Yeah, so basically HR with the phone interview, and then I had a technical interview with the person, or with the lead, and then right after I had an interview with HR, marketing director at the time, and then that was it, But that was in person, so back to back interviews.
Okay, so I guess technically 2-3 rounds and then that was it. Okay, all right. Thank you, Han. Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome, good questions, Paul. All right, and then Christina.
Hi. I will misspell your name 100%. I'm sorry. I'm not native speaker. So, Jan. So first of all, thank you for coming and telling us about your journey. Especially, I think the timing is just so right. Honestly, thank you for being so honest about how you felt, and it definitely makes us all feel very relatable to your journey. So thank you for that. Tony, thank you for awesome questions. I love them all. And I just wanted to share really quick that I don't know how it works really. I attended several sessions with the Tony. I will speak for the sessions with the Tony, but I'm sure every mentor they have on the platform, awesome. It gave me so much confidence before my tech interview. I don't know how it works. It works miracles. It gave me so much confidence. I nailed my interview. I didn't get a job, but I did get other benefits from that interview. So I'm super, super thankful for that. So that was awesome. Okay, so now to my question. My question is, what do you think made you stand out for hiring manager, or for them just pick you up, among all of those thousands of, what do you think? Is it a project? Is it something you worked on recently at that time? Or what was it, do you think, that they picked you up from the pile of the people and they called you?
That question is kind of hard to tell, hard to answer, because I believe that, personally, I believe that whatever you put in work, it's gonna show to them. That's my personal belief. If you put a lot of work, and it's gonna stand out. That's how I see. But a lot of people. So like one of my friends from bootcamp, he got a job right away, and then like I asked him, and then he was like, "Oh, I saw the guy, at the company. We had an interview, and they just clicked. Like it wasn't even technical at all." And he asked the manager who hired him, later on. He said, "Oh, why did you pick me?" And then his answer was like, "You were the first one who applied." Sometimes it happens. So even if you get kind of, sometimes I got I struggle. So like I kind of sometimes stop applying, because I didn't want to see the rejection emails. But what I would suggest is you got to keep constantly. I think consistency is the key. It could apply to studying algorithms. It could apply to applying jobs. It could apply to project that you're working on. Just don't stop. You could take a break, but don't stop, because you feel like, oh, like I get rejected all the time. But don't stop. It's gonna work out. Like it's only gonna work out. It's gonna only make you better. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really well said. And then before we go to Tina's question, I want to emphasize. So Hyun was one of my students I coached. he had to work his ass off. I like getting that first job is not easy, and just wanted to let you know that if you want to get that first job, you got to go and get it. No one's gonna hand you a job, right? Especially in this market, you got to go and get it. Hyun had priorities set. We talked about this like as a coach and as his mentor. We talked about the alignment of what the expectations were and like what kind of like we wanted to get him out of the comfort zone. So we pushed him outside of his comfort zone, and regardless of the rejections he might have gotten, the fears, he pushed himself 110%. So he totally deserved to be in the Warrior side, and everyone here I believe can do that too. I have a lot of great students, Christina and also Maya is also, and then Chris Medina. They're all my students. They work their butt off. Those are that's the level of mentality you have to survive in this market. And if you want to be that top 10%, go out and get it. Just make sure that you really first have to believe in yourself, and don't let these like failures and like these other like external circumstances like really affect you. It's all on you. Like ultimately you have complete control over your destiny. Of course luck may play into it, like a little bit of everything, right? And so but 90% or most of it all is going to come from your control, and so just make sure you realize that you got to work your butt for it. It's not going to come to you. You got to chase after it, and you got to make it happen. Execution's all it is. Actions speak louder than words. That's a saying that's been around for a while, right? So just wanted to emphasize that. Okay, next up, I think it was Tene.
Hi, yes. It's a two-part question. Thank you so much for your story, though. That was great. First part, when you finished with the boot camp, did you feel like, I know they say everybody has the imposter syndrome, but like me, I'm coming out of none of this experience at all, total change in careers. So I'm having a hard time understanding everything. Almost at the end of full stack in Tony's class. And the first part is, did you and do you still have like the imposter syndrome? Like the stuff you learn in class is not the stuff that you're really doing in the work world? Or is it?
It's I guess, I mean, I think it is for me personally. But I had a huge imposter syndrome back in the days, and I still have it too, because not everybody can know everything, you know? It's I think it's the tech field itself, like a person could know it all, but not everyone can do it. So I would say whatever you learn from the class, you are definitely gonna use it in real field too. I guarantee that, because like it's like the same solving problems. That's something that we learn in classes too. So, but I still have imposter syndrome. Like, I sometimes think am I good enough? I don't know because like I'm a junior developer, but am I fit into junior developer category if some senior guys or top, the tech lead guy sees, like they see me? I still have questions, but I'm just working on it. You have a lot to work, like a lot to learn. So I have a lot to learn too. So, but I'm prepared to learn more.
Okay. And the second part was, do you think that I know you said that you weren't in this field prior to this, you were doing something else. Do you think that you would, out of those 1,000 applications, do you think if you had experience in this field prior, that you would have maybe, it might have been 500 applications instead of 1,000?
Yeah, I believe so. It's always easier when you have experience or a job already and then apply. It's a little different game, I would say. If I were to have a tech job or tech experience prior to landing a first job, of course, I would have a much easier time. But that wasn't the case. So I believe prior experience is kind of important too. So that's why it's really hard to land a first job in any kinds of field when you don't have related experiences.
Okay. All right. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
And speaking of imposter syndrome, I get that question asked a lot, practically almost every day. And one thing I can tell you guys is that at least you're not alone, because I'm also in that boat too. Because I've been in the industry now for over a stretch of just 3 years, but I have it every day. When I teach, when I work, when I run my business, I have it every single day. The worst part about imposter syndrome in a business is that you don't have enough people to compare yourself, because everyone's problems is different in business. So it's I guess it's kind of good because I can't really compare myself, I guess. But everything else, I do have it. But what I realized is there's a quote I want you guys to live by, which is that comparison is a thief of joy. What that means is that if you try to compare yourself, all you really suck your energy in is really on things that don't really matter to you, that you can't really make yourself better, right? And so one thing I actually recommend to be better about imposter syndrome is use that as an opportunity to tell yourself, what can I do? What can I use this to learn more opportunities? But also, how can I challenge myself? How can I push myself? But also, thirdly, be kind to yourself, because a lot of times people let themselves down too much. They're like, I failed this interview because am I not good enough for this, or am I just like, what's wrong with me? Be kind to yourself. I feel like a lot of times in our society we just kind of just self-sabotage, especially if we get a rejection, that something's wrong with us. No, everyone here is great. You are fantastic people, amazing. It's not the fact that you didn't get the job because you didn't do whatever that circumstance is. The reason why I'm saying this is because if you have a family member that you truly care about, you wouldn't really sabotage talking that same kind of tone to them, right? So why would you tell that to yourself? And I tell that to my students all the time, is don't self-sabotage yourself. Be kind to yourself. Just know that everyone here has a chance and opportunity to get there. It's going to be different. Hyun, it took him about 6 months. For some of you, it might take a year. Who knows? I don't know. Everyone has a different journey. But in the end, you got to realize that everyone can do it and can succeed to that finish line. But you have to have a direction. Hyun had a direction, like most of you guys here, but he really worked towards that direction on a micro step. Every single day he did something to get that done. And so just realize that it's the most important thing to get there is you gotta have a direction. If you don't have a direction, you're not gonna get there. So just make sure that you establish that first. But that's more in terms of what imposter syndrome you can overcome it by. Axel, you had a question about what sort of problem solving skills did they ask you in the interview? And then we'll wrap it up with Paul.
What sort of problem solving skill?
Yeah.
At my current company?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much. I think you mentioned that it wasn't really the SNA focus. Yes, I'm kind of curious as to like what kind of problem solving questions did they ask you?
So it was like, if you click this, there's a two front end page. If you click this happens, but is there any way to kind of better off, like those type of questions? So like I had to think. There was no, but later on we had a little bit of coding. But prior to that, I had to basically understand the situation, like the real, like their system, and then I have to kind of come up with some sort of idea or solution to the problem that he was asking me. So like that was the type of question. And then later on, I had to write like 10 lines of code, like any type of code to show off my skills. And then one another question, the type of question that the first one. So basically the real practical problems,
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I got you. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. By the way, congrats.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
Awesome. And then, all right, awesome. And then lastly, we'll wrap it up with Paul. Paul, you had a question again?
Yeah, Han, sorry to come back. I just have one more question. So, I was just actually curious on, and I think, because I come from Flatiron, so like our career coaches really drive this in us, and I'm pretty sure you've had it like driven into your head as well. Is that like networking is almost as important as like the knowledge that you actually know. So, and I feel like for in my case, the interviews that I've landed, and I was telling Tony before we started that I recently I got the opportunity to have an interview with the Times. So, and that was solely, I feel, based on my networking ability, and because like I knew someone at the Times, and not like I knew them like because of like a long stretch of like period of friendship or anything. This was just through like a literal cold like application. I'm sorry, not application. A cold like uh, what is it? A friend request on LinkedIn, and she like just added me. And I think in the community, everyone's like really willing to help if you're just like if you're not afraid to reach out. And I feel like with that, I was able to like. She was so kind to just be like, hey, I'll give you that reference. Like, that's not a problem. And she was happy to share her journey and, her process and on her onboarding process and how she worked, how she got her job for the Times. So I'm just wondering if that kind of relates to you and if you had to do like a lot of networking during your journey and like how you feel about that. Because in the beginning for me, I'm not going to lie to you, I was pretty shy. So I feel like networking was not my best, like, attribute, but I feel like now you throw me in a room and I feel like I can probably network with anyone, and I feel like I could definitely get at least some sort of like thing out of them. It might not be like a reference right away, but like I definitely could get like easily a number, a LinkedIn, and that can lead somewhere else eventually. But I don't know, I wanted your opinion on that. I mean, I guess Tony, you can chime in too if you have any thoughts on that. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll let Hyun talk first on that.
Yeah, first, I mean, to be short, I think that's kind of important too. That's something I kind of lacked. I wish I'm not too like outspoken, or I'm not a great speaker, or I'm kind of shy too, like introvert. So I couldn't really do it like through online. But while I was at Flatiron, I try to participate events like as much as I could at that time, but that did like nothing really worked out well. But I was still going to the events, but I couldn't really do like cold like message or friend request through LinkedIn. But I'm sure it helps. Tony, you can talk about it.
Yeah, so more in terms of, I think you guys, from what I collected from the question, is just the power of networking and just talking with people is kind of what I've heard. Yes, same with me. I always been kind of like shy, quiet. I still have a little mix of that, a little bit here and there, but ultimately what I told myself in order for me to kind of grow my passion of what I want to do, especially now where I do a lot of involvement of like teaching other people and also being a career coach and things like that. I gotta have an opportunity to grow and challenge myself. So I push myself to like becoming more comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes any sense. Part of that is actually going to a bunch of meetups, like what Paul says. It doesn't even have to be a tech related meetup. I wish I had done more of that if I had a chance back in COVID. That's when I had to find my job, and so all of those were obsolete, obviously. But if I did, I would have loved those. But try to do at least just once a month nowadays, just to go to an event like that, to where you're kind of just talking to, just networking random people. You just don't know who you're going to run into, and don't like just like start out be like, oh hey, like do you have a job opening? Don't start like that kind of intro, but rather it's like something that's like a repertoire that you build up, right? You want to get to know them more. So the strategy I'll tell you about this, to having people to like you, is there's a book I've been reading. It's about kind of like connecting with people. One of the best ways to do that is people love to talk about themselves. So what that means is when you go to these events, if you're kind of a shy talker, don't know what to talk about, that kind of stresses you out, ask questions, open-ended questions about them. Hey, my name is Tony. How about what is your name? hey, what do you do? Oh, you got into that business. Why did you get into that business? Ask open-ended questions to them because humans love to talk about themselves. And it actually creates color to a conversation if you ask open-ended questions. If you ask like yes or no questions, like, oh, hey, why do you live in New York? Or like, how tall are you? Or things like that. Those are like yes or no questions, right? Like you can't get any like more than black and white than that. So ask open-ended questions but about them, and that's how you can start getting into it of like, oh hey, that's really interesting. I'm actually a software engineer bootcamp grad. I'm looking to get a job in this particular field. Like what kind of tech stack do you guys work on? And then that's kind of where you'll kind of have some tangible assets. Be like, oh, that's cool. Like you guys will kind of connect to that level, and be like, hey, great meeting you. By the way, and sometimes they'll kind of like leave that door open for you. They'll be like, hey, Tony, or whatever that may be, you were great to talk to. Here, I want to give you my business card. I'm actually the startup founder of blah 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 X and X. We're actually hiring for some founding engineers. We would love to have you as a team member. That's kind of the characteristics they're looking for. It's a little bit of confidence level, but a little sense of urgency, but also kind of like that passion to like kind of connect with people. That's what we're looking for. And as kind of like on the other side now, when I interview for technical and behavioral side, that's what I look for too. Of course, you have to be good at some competence in coding, but ultimately it comes down to your like how is it a fit, because that's hugely important. And I guarantee you that Hyun, that's how he got to where he's at too, is because his personality and also that his culture fit really aligned with that company's values. Because the last thing you ever want to do is work with someone that you don't want to work with. Statistically, there's 2 reasons why people quit, right? Managers and coworkers. So that's why it's so important to have a good asset of team members. And so that's kind of, I don't know if I really directly answered your question, but I'll leave it at that, hopefully, to kind of, does that answer your question there, Paul?
Yeah, no, I just wanted insight on both Hyun's experience and then also partially yours, Tony, because I mean, I think you've, a couple months back, we did like that one-to-one interview, and like, I was like, I'm being pretty light about this, but I was like ass in JavaScript, and it was really bad, and it, like, I'm just being brutally honest,
Yeah.
but like Tony recommended that, I start ground up from my fundamentals, and I did, and I feel like with that was like a really, really big confidence booster in terms of like where to begin, and like what Hyun kind of said with like a direction that I needed. And then I think that just kind of led to kind of everything else dominoing into me going, okay, this is the next step that I need to do, and then the next step. So like I feel like through that that really helped out. So I mean, hopefully this works out. If not, I mean, I feel like I have a good foundation through that. So I just wanted to see if they were relatable in your journey, Tony, and then your journey, Hyun. That way I could kind of just like see like, I guess per se a roadmap if I'm going the right direction. But I guess, I don't know, it's all anyone's guess, right?
Yeah, and I'm actually glad that you said that you got a lot of insights from the one-on-one that we had, and provided you some kind of guidance to where you need to go next, right? And so, yeah, one thing I'll say to kind of wrap up here is, first off, thank you to Hyun. Like, let's give an applause to Hyun. First off, congratulations to Hyun for getting to where he's at. Let's give him a round of applause, because he definitely, deserves to where he's at. Now he's kicking ass and taking over the world here. So, and also he could probably get us discounts to the Spot Club.
That's what I was gonna say next too.
So he can.
Thank you guys.
He might get in trouble. Yeah. But Hyun, do you want to just like kind of wrap up with anything like last piece minute if you have anything, and no worries if you don't.
Okay. I mean, thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to give me an opportunity to share my experience. It was my first time sharing my experience other than my friends and families, so it was I feel like I was kind of, everywhere, I wish I had more time, or I should have kind of prepared to elaborate more on my stories, but it was a great experience, and I hope don't lose your hope during your journey. That's my advice.
Yeah, And if you want to connect with Hyun and I, so on the chat, I threw some messages out there. So I'll send this by email too. But if you want to go ahead and connect with Hyun on LinkedIn and me, I pasted my Hyun and links, my link to LinkedIn on our chat. And also, like what Hyun said, if you want to go to the technical mentorship that he did exactly, feel free to check out the webpage. My company's website is honolulu.com. You can schedule a call with me or any other professional mentor. They all currently work at industries at Google, Bloomberg, Southwest. And all we do is prioritize at a one-on-one level to prep up in a mock interview setting to figure out what your weaknesses are. And if you need that kind of guidance after you graduate, that's what we do. And we do it really, really well. And we work with really passionate people. So feel free to check out the website, and I'll send it by email too, and including this recording. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll wrap it up here. And so they'll close it off by 8 o'clock here. So thank you guys. And thank you, Hyun, for being here with us today. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right. Take it easy, guys. Bye.